Okay, so what we got going on tonight in the shop is we have to make a sleeve for our carbon fiber tubes that are going to be our wing tubes for the new project, which is a 50% DR-104 Phoenix airbag biplane. So what we're going to do is we're going to be making a sleeve that's going to go over the main tube, which is a 30 millimeter tube OD, and this is the rear tube is a 20 millimeter tube OD, and they're both 60 thousandths thick roughly on the tube wall. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take some parchment paper, we're going to wrap it around the tube, tape it in place, and then we're going to take some, I've never used it before and I did some test runs with it. It's almost like a carbon fiber, or a fiberglass sock. It's already molded, or woven in, and it's like a sock. So you could basically compress it, pull it over your tube, and snug it down and press it down, and then lay some fiberglass resin into the cloth, and then wick out the excess and let it set. I did do some test pieces. Here's a tube that I did previously, and this is one of the tubes that I've done. This had, I tried 2 layers of the parchment paper, and this one, it fits a little loose on here. Only, it has about maybe 6 thousandths play. Then I went down to a single layer, and the resin didn't wick through, so I'm going to try it on this one. And this actually has about 2.5 thousandths clearance. So it's just, this is almost perfect and is very almost identical to a pre-made sleeve that comes in a tube set that actually came with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to make one wrap and get this cut to shape and then tape it on. So basically square it up and wrap it around so it's on nice and snug. Take our pencil. I'm going to mark where the joint is. There's the joint there. We don't want any overlaps, so we want to make it as close as we can. The tube, the sheath length we need, or the sleeve length, is 16 inches. So we're going to use about 20 inches of parchment paper, and our tube, we're going to make the actual sleeve, we're going to make probably around 17 inches, maybe an inch over, inch and a half over. So now we'll back this off, get the tube out of the way, get this flipped over. Right on those marks there, we're going to cut it. And then we're just going to basically use tape. So we want something that'll give us a nice straight edge, which is this. We'll cut that up. Like I said, I did try 2 wraps. In other words, wrapped it around twice and taped it. And it worked, but it just had a little too much slop on the tube. So we'll set that out of the way for the next one. And a friend of mine told me about using the parchment paper, and I'll tell you, it worked really, really well. I tried this before, doing it with 6-ounce cloth and wrapping it. It was a pain in the butt because it would move all over. The parchment paper is almost perfect. So we get that so it's butted up pretty darn close. And we could probably take a little extra off, because what we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of tape over this. And we'll trim it a smidge off of there, off the end. Just want to take a teeny tiny bit off. We want it to either butt up, or we don't want it to overlap, because then we're going to get a seam. So I'd rather have a little less. There we go. Get rid of that. We'll take our tube, lay this in here. There we go. I'd rather have a little bit of a seam there. It ain't going to hurt. Now, what I'm using is, this is just plain old cellophane tape. It doesn't stick to the parchment paper all that well. Nothing sticks to this parchment paper, which is what you want. pieces in here to hold it in place. And then what we're going to do is get one long piece. And I got a little crappy, let's use another one. There we go. I'm going to lay you right over that. Smooth that out. We'll get a little bit of a bump here, but it's not going to be much. You can see it's almost peeling up off the piece as it is. We're going to put a little extra piece over here to get that off of the edge of the pipe. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our sleeve, our woven sleeve, and we're just going to have to guess about what we need. So, like I said, we need 16 inches of, so what we really need, the tube length is going to be right here. So, not sure how much we're going to have to cut. We're going to have to see, because this is going to, it'll expand when you go this way, and then it's going to contract when we go to open it. Or when we go to, it's going to squeeze back down on the tube. We're just not sure how much we're going to need. Cut it longer. We have enough. Hopefully that'll yield a piece long enough. So what we're going to do is try to, what we do have to do is we should put some extra tape on the end that we're going to slide it on so it doesn't lift off of the tube, because when I was running the test pieces, the parchment paper sits so loose on there. So now, if all goes well, we should be able to push this in. Oops. Let's get this expanded out to where it's got to go. Like that. And then once we get it on here, then we'll press it back down and we'll see how long it'll be, because we cut it about 18.5. We only need 16. So there. So there, we're about in the middle. And hopefully we'll be lucky. Pull it down as much as you can and flatten it right out. Let's see if that gives us 16 inches. Just barely. I think we'll be okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mix up some resin. Let's see. So it looks like, it was moving a little bit. What's that? Just got to look and see where the weave ended up. Yeah, we'll be good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the bench with some, now that the woven sleeve is pulled down onto the tube good and snug, we're just going to get some resin, soak it up, wet it out, just make sure we don't get it on the tube here. That's why we extended this past to here. And then we're going to, once we get it wetted out, we'll make sure it's squished down. Take your hands, work it right in, take a couple pieces of paper towel, wrap it around, and roll it back and forth to blot out all the excess. We'll do that in a second. Okay, so we got our resin here, mixing it up. Being that this is kind of a test piece to make sure it's going to work right, I'm not using any structural resin right now. I'm using what's called finishing resin. And we go to town. Start in the center and work your way out. You want to make sure it gets wetted out fully. You'll see it soak in as you go. Go around the tube. Get it wetted up and just keep moving it out. Like I said, I've made tubes before, but nothing ever this simple. This woven sock material just makes life that much nicer. Okay. Looks like we're pretty good and soaked. Okay, now we have that all. You can see it's actually beaten up on the paper here, the resin. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set that down, move this out of the way. Wipe up some of our mess here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of paper towel. Set that up on the tube there, just to stay there. I'm going to lay that down on there, pull this up around, and get that on there. And the whole idea is to get this the sock material or the sleeve nice and snug, as snug as we can on there. So we're just going to keep rolling it down and in. Until we get all the excess resin out. Okay, let's back it off nice, pick it up so it doesn't get anything, rest it on something like that. Let's chuck that out. Get another piece of paper towel. And let's do it again. You could probably leave the resin on it if you wanted to, but this just ensures that you're going to get a good common surface. That it should have the same diameter all the way around from end to end. Because once again, this sleeve is going to be going into a laser cut opening, and you want it to be pretty snug. Not real tight, but just snug a little bit so you get some glue around it. But the laser cutting is dead nuts accurate, so your tube's got to be pretty darn close. Okay, that's it. All the excess is wicked out. We let that sit for a while, and we'll basically pull this tube out, take the tape off, we'll slide it right out, and then we'll take the parchment paper here and you just keep twisting it and it'll pull right out. So we're going to go let this dry and we'll take a look later on. Come back in about 6 hours. Okay, we're all cured up pretty good. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take the tape off. We have our tape on the end around the tube here. We're going to take on the end of the tape here. If you notice, you'll see how it peels right off of the, see how it's lifting off of the parchment paper already? Peels right off real easy. So now what we're going to do is get the tape off of there. And I didn't put any mold release or nothing like that on it. This is nothing more than the resin laid up over the parchment paper, and guess what? There you go. Came out that easy. And that's the parchment paper. There's the tube. Do nothing more than the parchment paper is going to release real easy. It's going to stick a little bit where the tape is, which is on the joint, but as you can see, it comes off pretty easy. Easiest thing to do is just put some pressure on it, keep pulling it apart, and keep twisting it. Okay, on this end, there's the tape. The tape is sticking a little better than the parchment paper, but still, the resin won't stick to the to the tape. There you have it. There's your tube. Still not 100% cured, a little soft, but it'll cure up. It won't stick to the tube. I can put it back over this and it'll hold shape. Nice and snug. Now what we got to do is you want to check and make sure that it held tolerance. So what I was talking about before that I feel is very important is that you get it as tight to the tube as you can, because you want it to maintain the same diameter and same thickness of resin and cloth from here to here and all the way around. You want that to be consistent. So if we run it out, this mics out to be 1.218, and that's all the way around. Let's see what it is in the middle. 121.758. Let's check it on this end here. Yep. 12175, 12185. So it's within. It stayed within 2,000s, which is for putting into the holes in a wing tube. In a wing, it'll be perfect. Okay, there you have your tube. I'm gonna get her off and let her cure up a little bit. There we go. There you go.